Ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very proud and happy and excited to finally introduce you to Felukah herself. She's beautiful, she's magnificent, she's super talented. How are you?
Yo, thank you for having me. I'm chilling. It's
It's
always great to
been,
be here.
yo, it's an absolute pleasure. I've been dying to get you on here, and you're talking to me all the way from Brooklyn. Am I right?
Yo, you got that twisted. I'm a Harlemite, honey.
Oh, snap! It's the song
Yeah,
Alpha
no
and soon.
representation for us uptown people, but yeah, no, I'm Harlem repping. Cairo born and raised. Never forget it.
Awesome,
But
awesome,
we in New York for the moment, yeah.
nice. How's New York?
It's okay. It was really peak pandemic for a minute. It was scary because like this was the center of the apocalypse and
I
everything
know.
was just falling to dust. But now like the city's coming back, people are going out, there's energy coming back.
That's really cool. That's really cool that it's back, not the pandemic part. So
No.
so, how are you with all of this? Like, how is 2020 so far? How's the
You
vibe?
know what? I really feel like I've come so full circle in my sentiments and my feelings about 2020. Like we started off, everybody was like, this is my year, right? We were all like, yo, we gonna get it, golden year, whatever.
Yeah,
A lot has happened, and here I am months later, what, halfway into the year, and I really feel like it's a golden year. Look how transformative. Look how
yeah,
much change. Look how different your like habits are and the people in your circles. Like for real, it did a number on us. So yeah, I think I've been riding the wave,
yeah.
producing mad music, just trying to rise to the occasion.
That's astounding to me, really, because I think it affects each and every one of us differently, and yet I see you out here, banger, single after single, and
Thank you.
yeah, super proud, honestly. And I just want to ask, like, okay, with everything going on, how's like the creative process? How's it different? Is it the same? Is it unaffected?
I think it's completely different. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot harder right now to get yourself to force yourself into the zone per se
Mm-hmm.
because it's just you're not around the same stimulus, which is live music, which is social gatherings, which is all the things that really fuel that desire to speak and participate in a conversation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can come at it from any angle. Art has existed throughout every, period of history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tragedies, euphoria, anything. There's always been a soundtrack for that. And we're encountering just like revolutionary times in terms of social justice, in terms of disease, in terms of everything has just really been blown up. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of inspiration. And I think if you really just try to put yourself in the mindset of expressing yourself, exploring yourself, less pressure on what it is you're creating,
Yeah.
then it's a lot easier to just get into it.
Yeah. So would you say that it's more of I used to gather up my inspo from myself and my experiences, but now I'm letting the universe in whatever it is that it wants to
Exactly.
say. I'll say through me. I will.
Exactly. And it's just about changing your shift, like shifting your vision of what is going to inspire me right now, what's going to bring me in the zone. I know that it's a lot of discomfort. I know that a lot of us are anxious and we're tense and it's a hard time for many people,
Hmm.
but how can we use that to speak on it and speak from a place of truth?
Yeah.
Pain is number one inspiration. Are you kidding me?
I
Super.
know, I know, and I hate that. Part of me hates
Yeah.
that. Part of me is like,
No.
it's like, why is it that the lessons that we learn always have to come from like the trouble, and why is it that the best
True.
art that comes out of I've been feeling like trash for
Yo, for real.
yeah, I know
It's because it speaks to a vulnerability that is usually very difficult to share. So when you see that in art and you recognize it in music, you feel seen, you feel heard, and that really moves you.
especially when somebody just points at you, is like, Felukah, that song, you spoke my mind and I couldn't, and it's like at that feeds you.
Yeah, that's what really perpetuates the entire thing, yo, is when I'll be like anywhere, freaking Guna to freaking Cairo, Zamalek, أي حتة في مصر, and
Uh-huh.
somebody comes up and says that they felt this line or they felt this lyric, I'm like, yo, this is the only reason I'm doing this, is so that
Yeah.
you can feel like yeah, this is your cake and you're eating it too. It's about time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, you talk about that transition, that shift of sort of creative juices, or where it's coming from. How was the Like, was there a lull, in the middle of the year, and you're like, oh man, or was it like, you know what, this is what I'm on right now. I'm on universe stuff. I'm not on my own. How was that transition?
I don't know. I think what happened was I was preparing to start working on this album Dream 23 right
Hmm.
as pandemic was beginning to hit. So
Okay.
it's like regardless, I had set my vision. I had set my goals. I had just signed with Abu Recordings, an incredible team,
Shuts out.
indie label. Shout out to Abu, yo. They're really making the work and they're doing it and they're putting Arabs, Egyptians, everybody on the map in New York and in Europe, in the UK. And yeah, we just like figured this thing out together. We were like just whatever, this is the time that we're going to use to build. We're not going to shy away from all of this turbulence. We're going to use that to really just like make this material when we have the time. And yeah, and I was recording cautiously between Harlem and Brooklyn at their studio, at their headquarters, and we just kept going ham. I think that's what actually got me through quarantine and through pandemic, was creating music.
Okay, so you just were all up in that musical cocoon. Like that's it. That's how I'm gonna waste that
I
time.
had to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean waste that time. I mean like just do.
No, but exactly. This is how I'm gonna survive. If I'm
Yeah.
gonna survive, I'm gonna be recording while I do it. Like,
Yeah, that's astounding. That's crazy. I want to play the song, the new single. That's
hell yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about it. It's called "Looking at Me," right?
It is. It is. It's looking at me is a comment on perception, and it's a comment on the way that, you know, the outsiders will see you. How does that relate to how you see yourself? And there's this one part that I'm hoping slaps with a lot of people the way it did with me and my friends. It's just how you see me, way I see you, see each other's color pixels, and you'll hear it in the track. But it's really just this like discombobulated kaleidoscope feeling of like, being seen.
Okay, awesome. You were just telling me about this new single. You were talking about people's perception of you and stuff. Are you a person that sort of how's like Felukah's ego versus how she finds validation from people consuming her art?
Damn, yo. I mean, that's a big leap. Tell us about the single. Okay. Felukah's ego versus viewing myself. I mean, I think that's really something that is ever changing, ever evolving. I really, really try to stay close to my roots and the earth, because a lot of this music, industry related, everything is very polluted. So where do I find my serenity? I'm backed by such a rich culture and religion. Like, I look to that. I look to Egyptian culture. I look to, you know, tropes in Islam, and I look to just roots of peace for myself to be like, just forget what anyone says, you know, like really, really try to keep everybody's views of me peripheral, secondary, and I never really care too much what they say.
Okay. All right. That's the dream, really. I think everybody's sort of after that sort of self-sufficiency with that.
I think it's easy when you put it in practice to really distance yourself from what people say. As an artist, it's really important to just focus on the opinions that matter, you know, critiques versus random opinions.
Yeah, for sure. But there's no denying, I mean, I can speak from just personal experience, honestly, I can't speak for you, but there's no denying that it maybe it's just me, but it kind of gets to me. Sometimes, you know, I know whatever it is that I'm putting out there is like dope because I made it, but like, why did you have to say that? Because now I'm like thinking it. Like, was there ever a point in time where you thought, what were you like, even because it tends to happen starting off, so I'm pretty sure you're at a place now where that's different, but when you started off, were you looking for that, or was it from the get-go like, this is how I'm born and raised?
Nah, not at all. I mean, like, I'm somebody who stumbled upon my music career per chance. Like, I'm a writer, I'm a scholar, I'm a thinker, but I never identified as a musician, or, you know, in that sense. So I had so much to learn coming in. I still have so much to learn coming in. So I couldn't, like, it's only natural that I'm very sensitive actually to what people say about the craft. But, you know, I'm working with myself through these problems to catch myself and be aware, whose opinion is this? How close am I letting it into my own perception of myself? And do I want to welcome that into my, you know, radius of information, or do I not? Like, it's a choice. Okay.
I mean, I think the best takeaway out of all of this is the fact that it's happening, it's inevitable, but you're super aware of it. So whatever needs changing, I'm gonna work on it. It's a headache. It's not a headache. It's pressure. It's continued.
You know what? Like, I think this is just a different way to do like music and art and stuff in the public eye. That is just a way to preserve your mental health and it, like, I don't want strain, for real. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, the reason that we're doing all of this and what's rooted for me in the Felukah philosophy is peace and serenity and love. And if that's not going to be feeding me while I'm releasing stuff, I ain't going to release.
Yeah. Why am I doing it? Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, honestly, I'm feeding off of that because I like that. I love that energy. So you gave me a great, thank you. You're so feeding me such great question things. You're saying that you stumbled upon your music career per chance. Tell me more about that.
Yo, it's like a dark little thing though. Let's hop on this tangent. So basically, I was just encountering so much heartbreak, so much heartache as a youngin', right? Things go sour. You're like, wow, what it is to be broken. You know?
Yep.
Some careless whisper at night, like just like really, really dramatic. And I was listening to hella Stillmatic. I was listening to Lauryn Hill. I was just really just in the depths and the pits of hip hop. And I was like, yo, feed me right now because I need strength. Like, I found it in hip hop, and I found it in all my favorite rappers. And and I just identified with them so strongly in that moment of pain. And I've continued to identify with rappers, with singer-songwriters, since then, with poets, really, always.
Yeah. And that happened. You're like, I feel pain, but this music is feeding me. I wanna get on that. I wanna create something to feed somebody else. Was that it?
That's it.
Was
I
that it?
thought, my narrative is a little different. I had my own experiences as an Egyptian woman with these different like issues and topics. Everything being taboo as a woman who has a westernized like upbringing and philosophy on life. You just It's problems every step of the way growing up. So I'm like looking at all the material in front of me, and I don't find myself represented in anything. So I took my stories and I took my pain and I wrote a mixtape and I put it out on SoundCloud, and my friends just kept circulating it, and it felt so fun and so good that I just kept going. Like, it was that simple.
Was that Yensun or was that prior?
Nah, prior I put out Battery Acid.
Okay, so
I would not advise anybody to listen.
no, actually, that's so is the case with every artist talking about their first thing. But it's like humble beginnings. It's gotta be. It's a thing. Absolutely, it's part of the journey.
No, and truth be told, I'll still take some of the verse off of that mixtape and use it. Like, you'll see some of it in Dream 23 because I'm like, this was not used properly. Put in it in a new album. Like,
because yeah, absolutely. Because if you got a great line or something that you identified with, still do, and it didn't get that traffic, by all means, put the entire thing on there on Dream 23.
And people have said that, but like, no, I'm all about new material, new content. We gotta keep pushing.
I absolutely get it. So I really want to talk more about you writing, because how do you go about spitting those bars? Like you talk. All right, I wanted, and I put a mixtape out on SoundCloud. What kind of prior sort of, or did you just start writing, or did you have like a history of poetry and stuff?
I'm actually one of those dramatic teenagers who was like always in love with English class and was always doing their homework and extra because I loved novels and I loved poetry and short stories. I was excelling in all my language classes, Arabic as well. I took IB Arabic, and that changed my whole world. Reading Salah Jahin, reading Radu Ashur, Nawal Sadawi untranslated. You know what it is to get to these texts and see them for their fullness. It's really changed my whole life on so many levels. And that writing just flowed. It kept flowing to the point where I realized I wanted to perform the writing. And how do you do that? Well, spoken word. Okay, what comes after that? Add a beat. What is that? Rap music. Like, just like flowing.
So, how was it? Because I know this was one of the most fulfilling feelings ever. Like, just spitting over a beat and just like taking a look at it, like your first like couple of bars, and just looking at it like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
right.
It was a good feeling.
It's amazing.
My first rap song was called Purple Philosophy, and I was really trying to like make myself, like known as somebody who has a philosophy, a school of thought, as something, very Andre 3000 in my beginnings. And I was and it was just like, I remember loving the flow so much and like listening to that shitty quality on my iPhone and being like, but this is a bop. This is a bop.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. How are you with production?
With production, I mean, I record myself.
Okay.
I'll put a beat together if I have something I really need to spit, but I don't have a beat. I'll be like, this is what I'm doing right now. Quickly, just get it recorded.
Just want to remember.
Yeah, BPM, and then same idea skeletally, and then I can talk to a producer. I can talk to a sound engineer and really like hone it. I have a lot of musical inspiration in my head, in my system. I have melodies and so many different things. I don't know how to read music, so I'll just get on the keys and I'll just like play that shit on and record it onto Pro Tools, and somebody of my talented friends will come and help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. I feel you. But, so it never feels like, because I'm very curious about this. It never feels like, you never have that curiosity about like producing the whole thing. You just want something set and you have a vibe in your head. Somebody, a good producer that you deal with, and not to use like a full, that's it. That's how we want to do it. Do you ever like?
For me, like I know that in my heart, like if you really put yourself to anything, of course you can do it. I encourage anybody who wants to produce, do their own cover art, mix their own music, do it. For me, that's really not been my style. For one thing, is I love the collaborative aspect of creating this stuff, and I love reaching out to cover artists, reaching out to like people that I know could really hop on this and make it something with their energy. So it's just it's a different flex,
Yeah, I know.
Bringing people into the project.
For sure. I know for sure, because it's just different schools of thought, really, because at one hand, sometimes it feels like if I go one lane or two lanes or three lanes, it's just it must be something that I really want to do. And if it's another one, and I enjoy the energy that's coming up, because creative juices work like the multiplicity of it. Like if three people that you vibe with, and everybody's just throwing ideas left and right, it's like one of the best things ever. I
Exactly.
just get sometimes.
Multiplicity is a key word.
Yeah, yeah. I just came up with no, I didn't. Honest. Apart from that, I was gonna ask you about New York, really, because it's one of my bucket list cities, and I
Gotta
know,
come through.
it's my dream, and it's for one reason only, because people have always talked about like that hustle mentality of New York.
It's everywhere. Everybody's got
Yeah.
it. They're running on just like endless time. Like a New York minute is like just like
Ins-
so it's compacted with everything
uh-huh.
basically.
Uh-huh. And was that part of why you wanted to go? Is there something you want to delve into, or was it just like, hey, I happen to be in New York?
Oh, in terms of like making music while I was here?
Yeah.
No, it was really just like being around a lot of ciphers and being around a lot of open mics and being around a lot of performative energy where it's like, at open mics, people who haven't sung in years are just thrust on the stage and they're like, well, this is my favorite song. Like, it's just such like outward, like
Yeah.
encouraging energy. At least that's in New York City. I don't know about other places in New York, but
Okay.
it's a very metropolitan, like bustling city and no walls kind of thing. You just have to work with people.
I know for
So
that.
that definitely inspired a lot of like the reason I gravitated towards hip hop.
Hip hop. Okay. And is it exhausting? Does it ever get exhausting? Because I know
Oh,
it's
it's never not exhausting. What are you talking
okay.
about?
Okay.
I'm like
Okay.
asleep right now. Okay.
That's okay. That's interesting, because it's never not exhausting. But if you accepted that part, or do you just burn out at some point and just
That's the
cocoon a little
thing is
bit?
like a lot of people that I talk to will agree that like New York is like a transit stop for like, your dreams in the making.
Yeah.
You get here, you make mad connects, find your groove, you find your style, your idea of people, and then you just take off. And that's the idea low key, is like I
Hmm.
don't know where I'll be in a year. Like I'm graduating from my university like in 2 weeks
Hmm.
this summer.
Wow.
With that, yeah, it's
Mabruk.
crazy. Thank you. I'm gonna have that degree for my Bobo mom and be like, خلاص عملتها.
Leave me alone now. Is that it?
Now the music. No, but like for real, like I don't know. After this, New York is so draining and it's so expensive and it's so a lot of things. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of young people that come out here with a dream and they just they just bet on it.
They
Like we
go
just
at it.
try.
They go at it. All right. So, building on that as well, because it still astounds me, because whenever I'm in a zone, all right, where creative people, it definitely feeds you, but again, it definitely exhausts you. But you're very okay with it. That's your vibe, by the way. Your vibe is you talking about something really serious, and me listening to your song, being like, yeah, it's all messed up, but this is so groovy. I swear, legit. I was just listening to your entire discography a couple of days ago. I swear, it's crazy to me. But you're very self aware about it. You're like, yeah, it's just like sort of a cocoon phase, and then whatever happens.
Exactly. And but because I feel like that's really part of the philosophy, the Felukah philosophy is we keep riding, you know what I mean? And like there will always be difficult winds and turbulent waters, and the metaphor can keep going. You can use anything really.
Yeah.
The bank could be messed up. People are not waiting for you. Who's got the ropes? Nobody's sailing the Felukah, but it's still riding because it's a sailboat and it'll just go. And no matter what happens, you know what I mean? Like, what's the worst thing that happens? It flips over, it's in the water, it's safe. This is like an all case scenario kind of thing. We are
Okay.
growing and we are learning.
I love that. I love that. Honestly, I'm an anxious person, and I love that mentality. And I really wanted to ask you about the Felukah name, and I think you just perfectly explained it as well.
Yeah.
All right.
This is what helps me. And I'm also an anxious person, by the way, and I have mild ADHD, and who doesn't? And it's just,
Yeah.
it's all about that, like what we surround ourselves with. So I'm trying to really create this reality in which I create music, in which I engage in all these conversations with people that resembles something that I'm really trying to embody, and it can be vastly as different to your inside as it is. This is a dream. This is what we're engaging in life for, we're making something that we want.
Yeah, it's energy that I want to get out there. All right, awesome stuff. We're gonna be talking. Do you mind talking about anxiety next?
Yeah, let's.
Yeah. All right. We're doing it. That's my anxiety's my jam. You have no idea.
Let's get it.
So you spoke of anxiety a little bit, just a little.
I did.
What's your relationship with it now?
I think it's definitely been heightened since pandemic. I think it's definitely caused me to look inwards a lot. I think it's caused me to be reflective to a point that might be uncomfortable even sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm learning actively every day how to better channel, my energy, and how to protect my energy, how to calm down, the importance of slowing down, all of these things.
Yeah,
And I try
especially
to
in the
write about,
city.
I don't shy away from writing about anxiety either. We got to put this in the music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the therapeutic part of it, like that
Exactly.
you take care of. So, how is it? Is your relationship with it any different, based on not based on ever since you started making music? Like, how's that conversation back and forth between you and anxiety different? Is it any different?
I think definitely it's different. I don't think I used to have anxiety, to be honest, not so
Oh,
much before making
okay.
music. And just getting into this, like, full disclosure, really, it is stressful sometimes to be putting yourself out there and
Mm-hmm.
to be promoting yourself, and really just learning to thicken your skin to that level where we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about earlier. You just want to reach a point where things don't phase you. How hard is that?
Mm-hmm.
Very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
but it's that constant, struggle, and it's a constant desire to see yourself overcome something. And it does get easier with time. I think I've learned a lot of ways to deal with it, and I've learned to really put that in the spotlight and share, and like open up my experience like a flower and be like, do you not feel this way too?
Yeah.
And so that's what Give Her a Moment was. I put that song out about a really intimate relationship that was falling apart with me and one of my close female friends.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like we were really drifting apart, and it was giving me a lot of anxiety. And I put that out, and I watched it just fly. And so many people that reached out to me saying, like, thank you, I relate to this. Thank you, this helped me. That same friend is now close and in my circle again. Maybe not
Wow.
because of the song, but like, I know she bumps it.
So maybe, who knows, Felukah? Who knows? So I don't know if I'm mistaken, but the song was okay. You say a personal story between you and a close friend. In my head, I was like, she's just out here being the voice that of female empowerment, or like on so many levels human rights, and on so many levels female empowerment. Is that in the back of your head, or is that just happening? Hey, I'm speaking my mind. You feel free to relate in however way.
I mean, a big thing that I always say, which is actually a line from one of my favorite poets called, her name is Claudia Rankin. She once wrote that the personal is political. And what that means to me is that any experience in my daily life, the mundane, the trivial, the seemingly insignificant, is
Mm-hmm.
actually a systemic thing, is actually rooted in a larger universal experience. I'm not alone in anything I experience, neither
Yeah.
are you. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so when I take this one instance of a friendship that is dear to me that I'm worried about, and I open it up, I expand it, I use broader language, I take out the specificities of name, place, setting.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly it's everybody's story.
Yeah.
Suddenly everybody's giving capital her a moment, whatever that is, and they're
Yeah.
just relating to it in those 3 minutes.
Cause oh wow, okay, so it was conscious but really cheekily made, where it's like, here's my story.
Oh,
Yeah, because I don't know why I was like, this is human. Like, I feel this. I know it's give her a moment, but he's feeling it too.
for real? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's always the aim. That's always the aim. And I think the more universal and broad that I can get, or that any artist can get, of course, the more relatable. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
I think the specificity of image is a very important, like, writing technique to help build an image. But it's different flexes. And I think for something, yeah, that I wanted to speak out about, the relationship anxiety, friendship anxiety, just personal relationships, and what that, like, grappling is like. I knew that, a lot of people were feeling this way, and maybe are even feeling this way more now because of pandemic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's, I think, is feeling things more because of pandemic. I think it's kind of beautiful. I think it's kind of beautiful because
It is.
there's unison in it.
Of course. And it's like we were at a point where it was like empty texting and people that are hanging out with each other, not really even into like each other. And it was just all this like superficial, frivolous hanging out. Now you're hit with text from somebody who didn't see you in like 5 years with like, hey, how are you holding up? Like, are you okay? And
Yeah.
that's just like, now I'm okay. And now let's talk about it. I'll hit your line right back and be like, no, I'm not. Let's FaceTime right now. Our lives are falling apart. Like, that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's wonderful because I think it's wonderfully weird because I think a lot of people, weirdly enough, didn't really know like. They felt like, oh, there's a pandemic and I feel this weird pumping in my chest, but what is it? And then I was like, guys, it's called anxiety. It happens to people and it's always there.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. That's the part of it that that was just kind of astounding to me. So
100%.
So I asked you about like your relationship with anxiety, and you were like, "Hey, I didn't think I had it starting off." And I have sort of a follow-up question. Maybe you can reflect on that now. Was it a fact that it wasn't there, or was it a fact of you weren't like you started like being in touch with your artist self, and you looked inwards, and having to express that, that's a vulnerability, and that's where that you realized that anxiety that was there. Was it that, or was it no? I was carefree, and then I started putting myself out there, and it sucks.
Same. Damn. I mean, like, I low key don't know how to answer that. I feel like it could easily be either one. It might be an amalgamation of both. I think more now that you're saying both of these things.
Yeah.
I think more so, yeah, definitely. I looked inwards, and I was getting to know myself in a different way, making music, where I now access this vault of anxiety, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't on some, I was Winnie the Pooh before I started rapping. Now I'm like, riddled with trouble.
That's artist plight, though. It's okay, even if it's that, because you got to pull from somewhere. So I really want to ask you this as well. Your first ever time like playing your music live. I know you've said that you've had like experiences with like spoken word and just getting yourself out there. What did that help with sort of easing your first time?
I've been performing and like performative for a very long time. I used to, like every single year since like grade 6 at the high school, at the talent show, doing something or other that made no sense that to me was brilliant. I mean, I remember grade 10, I came through with this anti-dance. All right, it was like an anti-performance. I'm out, there's spoken word going on. It's probably Beyonce or some like soap pop, right? And I'm like there, I'm thinking I'm so edgy, and I'm like all black. None of my friends got it. It was fine. And I was just like there, and I'm walking on the stage to the poem. And then as soon as the poem stops and it's like some instrumental, I just drop dead on the floor. But the drop was graceful. That was the theater part. It was just drop there. And needless to say, I didn't win. I didn't place. But
who cares?
Who cares? Like it gave me that ammunition to go back and enter in the next year and then do a proper dance, not an anti-dance. And that got some more attention, obviously. But yeah, since then, it's just been open micing for spoken word. It's been, going to readings and trying to get involved and somehow share my stuff there. I like speaking on panels. I went back to my high school and talked there.
Nice.
I always love talking and being like, spokesperson.
Yeah. And so your first concert or your first time playing your music as Felukah was just like, hey, I've been doing. Come on, I'm a veteran.
Well, no, because at that point it was like, oh my god, like, am I gonna ruin this? Like the mic is too close. Like I bet this sounds trash with an audience. Like it was all these different things. And also, what do you do with your hands when you're rapping? And do you dance? I can't dance. I'm out of breath. This bar is already insane. Like so much. But so, I was losing it, and I forgot my lyrics on stage. And like, oh yeah, it was terrible.
I mean, I'm sure it was terrible in your head, kind of like what anxiety makes you think, but yeah.
Definitely objectively have seen the growth of, just putting hours into performing in front of people and doing different things.
And so the second time, because sometimes anxious like sort of happenings like those sort of, they give you I wouldn't call it PTSD because I think that's a lot, but like I think it's mine where your brain is like, remember that last time what we're going doing? How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, that is the one thing is you just keep yourself surrounded by that same energy that is going to push you forward and not gonna reflect those inner thoughts. I know my friends are very encouraging. My family is very supportive. Anytime that I felt shaky about my vision or about my purpose or about getting on stage, I immediately run to the source, the honeycomb. And that's Momo sometimes. And that's my friends. And that's even Nas. So I'll just blast Jay-Z. Like, I'll do whatever it is to run to the source, refuel, reconfigure. We can always be reset is the thing. It's just like a mental switch to try and be reset and to try and re-enter a new experience. And and then I'm just like thrown back on stage and I'll try again. I'll probably mess it up, but we'll try again anyways.
Yeah, that's the spirit, really. Sometimes it feels a little bit like, man, I'd much rather be eating Cheetos at home right now, and I swear sometimes
I don't think that way.
I know.
I always want to seek the discomfort. Let's push ourselves. Let's grow. Let's do this,
Yeah, that's the right way to do it, really. That's absolutely the right way to do it. I hate it, but it's right. Wanted you to get. I know.
I'm saying if you see yourself somewhere, whether that's like culinary arts or music or anything, I believe in passion and dedication, and that's what I just am investing in my work right now. So I will of course be shaky about it. I'll have doubts. I have doubts about this album. I have doubts about the tracks that but it doesn't matter because I'm with those doubts. I'm feeling them. I'm giving them air and surface. I'm acknowledging them. And I'm like, I'm putting this out anyway. You know?
Yeah, it's that nuance. It's the doubts are gonna exist nonetheless. What's important is that the verbs don't stop. Like, you know, whatever the thought
Exactly.
is.
And you
Yeah.
keep pushing. And you're your number one supporter. So when you see that inner dialogue in your mind and still decide to push and still decide to show up for yourself and still go the extra mile, then, you know, it's just like a pattern. You start picking up on the fact that you want to see yourself win. You want to see yourself fly. Like, it's not enough to get by. I want to fly. And so you'll put in the extra work. And I think, yeah, we have to love ourselves more. It comes from that, you know, and you deserve to see yourself fly.
Yeah, I feel like this is not an interview. I feel like I'm in the middle of a I swear, I want to stand. I want to stand up and be like, yes, I agree. So, all right, we'll close it on this note because you just brought up Dream 23, which is your sophomore album.
It is indeed.
How what do you feel? How do you feel? What do you want to say? What are you gonna say?
Yo, it's almost like a whole new, like, it's like Citadel was from another father, and this is like a different, like, baby. It's not even the second baby. It's like a different entire, like, baby. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like definitely the quality you're gonna be hearing is so different, and the beats that I've been using, just the features on the album, it's all just very different and fresh. And like, Citadel was me finding my place in the recording sphere, you know. And I think Dream 23 is me being smack dab in the center of this, you know, momentum that I'm building and realizing that I got so many dreams and so many things that I want to manifest, and that will not push me down. That will lift me up.
Yeah.
Multiplicity don't hold you back. It will only set you free. That's the last lyric on the album.
Woohoo! Wow! When I said multiplicity at the start, this is like
That's what I'm saying.
this is absolute energy vibes happening right now.
Literally.
Yeah.
كان حلم واحد بقوم 23 سجلت فلسفتي الفلايق هم فاهمين المفيد. Thought life was just the one dream is something more like 23. Multiplicity don't hold you back. It'll only set you free.
Woo! Guys, this has been the awesome Felukah. Felukah, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. This has been a dream.
It's been an absolute pleasure. When's the album out? Where is it out?
It's going to be out everywhere it can be in the middle of August.
In the middle of August, and we'll be looking out. And I can't wait to have you back as soon as you can have me back.
This has been great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure was all mine.